I hope I make it to paradise. If life's a gamble, rest my paradise. Rolling up the spice. I hope I make it to paradise.
Alright, so boom, y'all. This is something I have been waiting to talk about for a good minute. Usually when it comes to particular arguments about music, it's not hard for me to pick a side. Like the argument about whether or not sales make someone a better artist, that's easy. Of course it doesn't. Sales doesn't make you better. It just means you make more appealing music to the masses. But there is one particular music argument where no matter how much time passes, no matter how many times I discuss this with myself and with others, I seriously can't pick a side. The reason I can't pick a side is simply because I agree with points from each side of the argument. So let me tell y'all what the argument is and where I got the idea to make this video from. Does relatability matter in music? That's the question. Another way to phrase this is, does being able to relate to a song, album, or artist makes it better than another song, album, or artist? Let me say this first to get this out the way. I don't think just because a person can't relate to a song that their opinion on it doesn't matter, because that's ridiculous. I will just say that I wouldn't take their opinion as seriously as someone who could relate to it. Now, the reason I thought about this in the first place is because I was on Amino one day, and no, this isn't an Amino sponsored video or anything. Like, them niggas didn't even know I was going to talk about them in this video. But I go on the hip hop and rap Amino every now and then, and I just read about people's opinions, and I found some interesting shit. So back in February 2019, yes, I told y'all, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Someone by the name of Rico Nasty's side chick made a post sharing his unpopular opinions, and he had a whole section about J.Cole. He had 6 things to say about J.Cole. The first 5 were Cole is only a decent lyricist and people overhype his lyrics. He has an inconsistent discography. There's at least one glaring problem in every project that he has. He does a piss poor job representing the subgenre that he's in, and that he thinks Drake is better. Now, these 5 opinions, I didn't care for it. I read these and I was like, all right, whatever, that's your opinion, I respect it. But the 6th opinion that he had was the only one where I was like, all right, hold on, this nigga tripping. So Rico Nasty's side chick said, relatability is a stupid way to defend the album because it doesn't have anything to do with the album itself. He then reiterates that by saying, relatability is the stupidest way to defend the album because that has nothing to do with the album itself and it's just based on your life. Now, like I said, I read this and instantly was like, okay, this man tripping. Like, how does being able to relate to something not matter? How does that not help the quality of the album? But then I just started thinking about so many things to where sometimes I was like, oh yeah, he big tripping, it does matter. And other times I was like, I low-key agree with him, it don't matter. So what this video is going to be is me giving 3 reasons why I think relatability matters first, and then I'm gonna give 3 reasons why I think relatability doesn't matter. And y'all definitely let me know in the comments what y'all stance on this. So my first point is, I think relatability matters because it's really easy to call something trash if you don't relate to it. People who can't relate to a particular song based on what it's about, or a rapper as a whole based on the type of music they make, they will be the first ones to call something trash. An easy example I can give you is grown men listening to female rappers. So those grown ass, like old head, barbershop conversation having, family barbecue attending, like them type of niggas. They the people who would be the first one to tell you that they don't listen to female rap because I can't relate to nothing these women be talking about. I need some hardcore street rhymes. The reason men are so quick to brush off female rappers is because of relatability. They look at female rappers and say, I'm not gonna be able to connect with them on anything they rapping about, so I would just rather not hear it. And that's one reason why I feel like being able to relate to music does matter, because people who refuse to listen to a certain type of music because it doesn't fit their style or their demographic, that person can easily trash a song for that very reason, and that's not fair. Imagine a grown-ass man saying, man, Megan Thee Stallion can make some dope-ass music. Like, her rhymes are on point, her bars are nice. I really like listening to Megan. If that happened, nobody would really say anything. But say another man said, oh my gosh, that Megan Thee Stallion chick is so garbage. All she does is rap about sex and stripping and whatnot. I can't relate to that. I ain't trying to hear that mess. It's very easy for that dude to call Megan's music trash because it's like, well, you shouldn't be listening to this type of music anyway. Like, you're not the audience for this. So that's what I mean by my first point. I wouldn't necessarily take someone's negative opinion seriously if I feel like they're not part of that audience to begin with. I know you shouldn't disregard somebody's opinion like that, but in all honesty, if a girl told me that she thought City Girls or So Weedy's music was whack, then I would take her word for it. But if a grown man said that their music was whack, I would honestly respond with, like, well, it's easy for you to think their music whack because they don't make music for you anyway. So my next point is simply that being able to relate to a song helps you understand the artist more. When you hear a song about an event that personally happened to you or a place that you live in, it causes you to enjoy it more because you know the place that the rapper came from mentally when they said it. In regards to events, this is pretty simple. If a rapper makes a song about how much he misses his mother because his mom died when he was a kid, if you still have your mother in your life, you immediately not going to be able to relate to this song because the event that the rapper is talking about has never happened to you. Someone whose mother died can hear a song like Hey Mama by Kanye West and they might start crying because they know how tough it is to lose a person that brought you into this world in the first place. Or if it's a song about having depression, someone who hasn't really experienced depression isn't really going to feel the song as much as someone who has experienced it. And so that also reverts back to point number one. It's easy to disregard a song if you look at the topic alone and you already not feeling it because it never happened to you. In regards to places, people who don't live in a particular area won't understand or even care about the meaning of a song that's about that area. I can actually give you guys a more personal example for this. The song First Day Out by T Grizzly. Now, T Grizzly is from Detroit, and I was born and raised in Detroit, so the smallest things that T was saying, I thought was cool because I knew exactly what he was talking about. I'll give y'all two examples. I fuck with bitches, my body count go from Persian to Cody. Both Persian and Cody are high schools in Detroit. Any nigga that grew up in the inner city of Detroit know about both of these schools. I have older brothers that went to both of these schools. And my own father graduated from Cody High School back in the 80s. So I knew the exact schools that T Grizzly was talking about. The other line was, Joy Road, bitch, but the money long is 6 Mile, Brick Mile. Joy Road and 6 Mile are blocks that I've been to an innumerable amount of times. So I know the exact streets that he was talking about. So for me, damn near, this entire song is fire just based off that alone. Because almost everything that Grizzly was talking about in the song, I knew what he was referring to. But that's just my experience with the song. Someone who has literally never been to Detroit in their life, they're not going to know any of this. None of these lyrics are going to hit for them. So it's easy for them to hear it and just say like, all right, this is whatever. They can look it up, but their reaction is just going to be something like, oh, I guess Persian and Cody are like some high schools in Detroit.
It's two sides of Detroit. There's more than two sides, but the main two sides that people be most familiar with is the east side and the west side. Cody is a high school on the west side, and Persian is a high school on the east side. So when I say go from Persian to Cody, that means east to west.
And Joy Road must be the name of a street or something. So this is another reason why relatability matters, because it's very easy to disregard a story about something that's never happened to you personally, or hearing about a place that you've never been to before. Now let's move on to the final point of why I think relatability matters. This is very straightforward. Your opinion on music in general is based off your perception to the artist or the album or the song. It's based off your experiences. People try to judge music objectively all the time, and there's really no such thing. There's nothing inherently good or bad about music. It all boils down to each person and what that person thinks is good or bad. With that being said, if someone is sharing their opinion about a song with you, you can't tell them that them being able to relate to the song doesn't matter. Because in turn, you're telling them that their experience and their perception of the song doesn't matter. And if you don't think their experience and perception matters, then what the fuck did you ask them their opinion for in the first place? Like, it literally defeats the purpose of the entire question. Like, you can't ask someone like, hey man, what you think about that new Pusha T song? And that person says, like, man, I used to do the same thing that Pusha was rapping about that he was doing, like cooking up that work, being on the block and selling it. I was doing that for years, so I felt everything that Pusha was saying. You can't respond to that person and say, well, the fact that you used to sell drugs don't matter at all. I'm not asking you about that. I'm just asking you about the song itself. You can't tell them that, because the fact that they personally experienced what Pusha is rapping about and you never experienced it, off the rip, they're looking at the song in a completely different way than what you are. Everything that that person thinks is deep or impactful in the song, you're not going to think it's that serious because you can't relate to it. Simple as that. So these pretty much go hand in hand. Like, you can't say relatability doesn't matter and then ask someone their opinion about music, because how much they relate to it is instantly going to play a factor. But for the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about why I understand why people say relatability doesn't matter, because there are times where I think talking about relating to a song is kind of flawed.
Wanna put you in a song, but ain't trying to get you known. Be wasting my time.
This point right here is why I feel like Rico Nasty's side chick ended up feeling so strong about this point. If you can relate to a song or a rapper more than another song or a rapper, that doesn't make them better at all. That just simply means that you enjoy it more. If I ask you, why do you enjoy song A over song B, and you say, oh, song A, it just hits me harder because I can relate to it more, that answer would be you explaining why you like the song more, not the reason why you think it's better. Say a rapper made a song about his dad, saying that his father was a deadbeat and never took care of him. Yes, you can relate to it, and you may say something like, man, my dad left me when I was young too, man. I know exactly how he feeling. But that wouldn't make it better at all. That wouldn't make it any better than another song that same artist made talking about like making money and having a lot of girls, which I'm sure is something you don't do either. But enough about particular songs. When it comes to talking about rappers, tell me how many times y'all done seen something like this. I will admit that Kendrick Lamar is the better rapper, but I like J.Cole more because he's more relatable. I know y'all have seen this a million times, but truthfully, this isn't an issue to me. If you like listening to J. Cole more because his music makes you feel like you talking to a close homie, then that's good. This right here though is when niggas start getting carried away. One reason that Cole is better than Kendrick is that he makes more relatable music. If you are one of the people that say this, you are part of the problem. Of all things you can mention about how Cole is better than Kendrick, like that's your argument. Oh, Cole is able to connect with more people and he can bring more people together. Like his raps are like listening to a close friend rap. Saying that any rapper is better than another rapper is because they make more relatable music, that's insanely flawed. It's also ridiculous to take points away from an artist because their music isn't relatable enough. Like that's stupid as well. So let me talk about that.
Wanna put you in a song, but ain't trying to get you known. Be wasting my time.
So my second point is you can't fault a rapper and say that they made a song or that their music in general isn't relatable enough. Do you know how dumb you sound if you're listening to a song and you say, man, ain't nobody gonna be able to relate to that? Have you ever thought that the artist wasn't trying to be relatable? Why is being relatable a standard in a song? If it's not relatable to the average person, how is that suddenly a bad thing? Let's take Jay-Z for example, who is the king of rappers who brag about how much money they got and how much something costs. So say Jay-Z made a song where he was brag rapping saying like, I just spent like 50K on this watch, or I just spent 2 mil on this Corvette or something like that. Your average person won't be able to relate to anything Jay-Z just said in this song. But how is that Jay-Z's fault though? How does that make the song worse because, man, he over here talking about like rich nigga stuff. Like, yo everyday dude ain't out here spending 50,000 on watches. Man, this song not relatable enough. Like nigga, he wasn't trying to be relatable. He just wanted to make a simple brag rap song and ain't nothing wrong with doing that. If being relatable is on your checklist of something that every song should have, then you are asking for way too much and you need to change that. Rappers don't try to be relatable all the time, so expecting that from them is crazy. That's very unfair criticism to say, oh, this song or this album isn't relatable enough, because first of all, what if the artist wasn't trying to be? And second of all, if it's not relatable, okay, what's your point? How does that make something bad? Just because your average person can relate to it. Like that's just very stupid for me. But let me move on to the final point.
Wanna put you in a song, but ain't trying to get you known. Be wasting my time.
This one is going to be very short. My last point on why I think a person shouldn't say a song is better because it's more relatable is because there are going to be so many songs that you can't relate to. Simple. There are a lot of song topics that most likely have never happened to you a day in your life. So according to y'all, something not being relatable enough is a bad thing. So if that's the case, you're going to have to take off points from like 70% of the songs you listen to just based off that relatable factor alone. Not every person has done everything or has been everywhere. There are going to be things that you hear about in music that you've never experienced. But just because you've never experienced them, like you shouldn't fault the artist or the song for that. So that's all I gotta say for this one. If you think it's legit to knock a song down for not being relatable enough, then you're gonna have to do that for a lot of songs. So that's the video, guys. Relatability is something that I just truthfully can't pick a side and say whether or not I think it matters. Because as you guys just heard in this video, there are a few arguments from each side that I agree with. I can't choose one and stick with it. But y'all definitely comment down below and let me know what you think about the whole relatability thing and whether or not it's important.